Marcus Chen pressed his face against the cold metal window and watched the last shuttle grow smaller in the darkness of space. The red lights of the Zenthari ship blinked twice, then disappeared behind a distant moon. He was alone. The human engineer turned away from the window and looked at the mess around him. Station. Keithvar had been beautiful once. Smooth alien walls covered in strange blue metal. Soft lights that changed color with the time of day. Water fountains that sang musical notes. Now, everything was broken. Sparks flew from broken panels in the walls. The lights flickered on and off like dying fireflies. Water dripped from broken pipes and froze into small ice chunks that floated in the weak gravity. The air smelled like burned electronics and fear. Marcus pulled his emergency suit tighter around his body. The station's life support systems were failing. Soon there would be no air to breathe. No heat to keep warm. No gravity to keep his feet on the floor. The Zenthari had said the station was too damaged to fix. They had loaded everyone onto shuttles and left. Everyone, except Marcus. Contractor personnel are not priority evacuees, Commander Vashta had said in his cold mechanical voice. Repair costs exceed station value. Station is condemned. Just like that, they had written him off. One human life was not worth the cost of repair. Marcus had spent 3 years working on this station. He knew every pipe, every wire, every computer system. But to the Zenthari, he was just hired help. Disposable. Marcus walked through the main corridor, his boots making hollow sounds on the metal floor. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the walls. He had maybe 3 days of air left in his suit, maybe less if he worked hard. But something inside him refused to just sit down and wait to die. He stopped at a broken control panel and pulled off the front cover. Inside, colored wires hung loose like spaghetti. The Zenthari way would be to replace the entire panel. They always followed the exact repair manual. No changes, no creative thinking. Just follow the rules. But Marcus was human. Humans had learned to fix things with whatever they could find. His grandfather had fixed cars with coat hangers and tape. His father had kept old computers running, with spare parts and luck. Marcus had that same stubborn refusal to accept defeat. He touched the broken wires and thought about the station's design. The Zenthari built everything in separate systems. Life support was one box. Power was another box. Navigation was a third box. If one box broke, you replaced the whole thing. But humans thought differently. They connected things. They made one system help another. Marcus pulled out his toolkit and started connecting wires. Not the way the manual said. The way that made sense. He bypassed the main control circuit and routed power through the backup lines. The panel flickered to life. "Computer," he said, "show me station damage report." The computer's voice was flat and emotionless. Multiple critical failures detected. Life support systems at 12% capacity. Main power grid offline. Artificial gravity generators failing. Hull integrity compromised in 7 sections. Marcus smiled grimly. The Zenthari saw a list of broken systems. He saw a puzzle waiting to be solved. He walked to the nearest maintenance shaft and climbed inside. The tight space was filled with pipes and cables running in perfectly straight lines. No flexibility. No redundancy. If one pipe broke, the whole section failed. But humans always planned for things to go wrong. Marcus found the main life support processor. It was completely dead, its blue lights dark and cold. According to the Zenthari manual, this machine could only be fixed at a shipyard with special tools. But Marcus had learned long ago that manuals were suggestions, not laws. He opened the machine and looked inside. The main computer chip was fried. The cooling system had failed. The air filters were clogged with debris. But the basic structure was sound. The motors still worked. The pumps still turned. Marcus started taking apart other machines in nearby rooms. A food maker here. A water recycler there. a decorative fountain that served no real purpose. Each machine had parts he could use: computer chips, motors, filters. The Zenthari saw these as completely different systems. Marcus saw them as a hardware store. He worked for hours, his hands moving by feel in the dim light. Sweat dripped inside his helmet, but he kept going. Slowly, piece by piece, he built a new life support system. Not the elegant Zenthari way, the human way, messy but functional. When he finished, Marcus held his breath and turned on the power. The makeshift machine coughed and rattled. Lights blinked in no particular pattern. Strange noises came from inside the metal box. But clean air started flowing into the room. Marcus took off his helmet and breathed deeply. The air was warm and fresh, better than anything the original system had produced. He looked around the broken station and felt something he had not expected. Not just hope, but excitement. The Zenthari had built this place to work one way, their way. But what if there was a better way? What if being abandoned here was not a death sentence, but an opportunity? Marcus picked up his tools and walked to the next broken system. He had a station to rebuild, and he was going to do it right. The human way. 3 days had passed since the last shuttle left. Marcus should have been dead by now. Instead, he was very much alive and getting stronger. His makeshift life support system hummed quietly in the background, turning carbon dioxide into clean oxygen. The air was so good that he had taken off his emergency suit completely. But air was just the beginning. The station was still dying around him. Marcus stood in what used to be the grand hall of Station Keithvar. Beautiful curved walls rose up to a domed ceiling covered in alien artwork. Or at least, they used to be beautiful. Now cracks ran through the walls like spider webs. Several panels had fallen to the floor and shattered. The artificial gravity was so weak that debris floated slowly through the air. The human engineer looked at the mess and saw possibilities. The decorative walls were made of lightweight but strong metal. The broken panels contained rare materials. Even the alien artwork held valuable components. The Zenthari saw destruction. Marcus saw a supply depot. He started with the gravity generators. These machines created the invisible force that kept everyone's feet on the floor. Without them, everything would float around like in a space capsule. The main generators were completely burned out. Their delicate alien circuits had melted into useless metal lumps. The repair manual said to replace the entire gravity system. Cost: more money than the whole station was worth. Time: 6 months in a shipyard. Marcus had neither money nor time. But he had something else: human stubbornness. He found the station's old cargo bay. The Zenthari had used it to store supplies in neat, organized rows. Each crate was labeled and sorted by type. Very efficient. Very boring. Marcus scattered the crates across the floor and started digging through them like a treasure hunter. In one crate, he found magnetic field generators used for loading heavy cargo. In another, he discovered motion sensors from the security system. A third crate held power regulators from the lighting system. None of these things were meant to create artificial gravity. But Marcus was not thinking about what they were meant to do. He was thinking about what they could do. He spent 2 full days building a new gravity system from spare parts. Instead of one big gravity generator, he made 12 smaller ones. Instead of delicate alien circuits, he used simple human logic. If one generator failed, the others would keep working. If the system got damaged, he could fix it with common parts. When Marcus turned on his new gravity system, nothing happened for a moment. Then, slowly, the floating debris started to drift downward. His feet felt heavier on the floor. Tools that had been floating in midair fell with soft clanking sounds. Marcus jumped up and down, feeling the solid pull of artificial gravity. It was not as smooth as the original Zenthari system. Next came the power grid. The station's main fusion reactor had exploded, leaving a twisted mess of metal and radiation. The backup reactors were designed to only power emergency systems. According to the computer, they could provide maybe 10% of the station's power needs. But Marcus was learning to ignore the computer's complaints. He found the station's entertainment district. Rich aliens had come here to gamble and watch exotic shows. Each gaming table had its own small power supply. Each holographic display had its own energy converter. Each private booth had its own environmental system. Dozens of small power sources, all considered too weak to matter. Marcus began connecting them together. Not just the entertainment systems, but everything. The cooking facilities in the restaurants, the heating systems in the luxury suites, the computers in the offices. Each one added a little more power to his growing network. The Zenthari had built the station like a tree. One big trunk carrying power to smaller branches. If the trunk died, everything died. Marcus rebuilt it like a spider web. Power flowing in multiple directions through multiple paths. If one line broke, the power found another way. As the days passed, more systems came online. The water recyclers started working again, cleaning and purifying every drop. The air scrubbers removed toxic chemicals and added fresh oxygen. Even some of the lights came back on, casting warm yellow glows through the corridors. But the biggest change was not in the machines. It was in Marcus himself. The fear was gone. The desperation had turned into determination. He was not just surviving anymore. He was improving things. Every system he fixed worked better than the original. Every problem he solved made the station stronger. He found himself whistling while he worked. Old Earth songs that his father had taught him. Music that no alien had ever heard. The empty station echoed with human melodies for the first time in its existence. Marcus also started talking to the computer. Not because he was lonely, but because he was excited. Every new discovery was something to share. Computer, monitor the new power grid efficiency. Power efficiency now at 115% of original specifications. This reading appears to be in error. Marcus laughed out loud. No error, friend. That's called improvement. The computer paused, as if trying to understand this concept. Improvement suggests the original design was flawed. Zenthari engineering does not contain flaws. Then I guess I'm not using Zenthari engineering anymore. Marcus had started using something else. Human engineering. The kind that said, good enough, was never good enough. The kind that saw every problem as a puzzle to solve. The kind that built things to last and keep getting better. By the end of his second week alone, Station Keithvar was not just operational, it was running better than it ever had. The air was cleaner. The gravity was more stable. The power was more reliable. Systems that had never worked together now shared resources and helped each other. Marcus stood in the rebuilt control room and watched the displays show green lights across every system. The abandoned human had become the station's new heart. And that heart was beating stronger than ever. But he was just getting started. 4 weeks after being left for dead, Marcus Chen had done the impossible. Station Keithvar was not just working again. It was working better than it ever had. But Marcus was not satisfied with better. He wanted perfect. The human engineer stood in the central command center, surrounded by displays showing station performance. Every number was green. Every system was stable. The station that once needed 200 alien specialists to maintain now ran itself with automated systems that Marcus had programmed. But these were not ordinary automated systems. Marcus had taught them to think like humans, to adapt, to improve, to solve problems that had never been planned for. The station's computer spoke in its flat, emotionless voice. All primary systems operating at 137% of design efficiency. This level of performance exceeds theoretical maximums. Marcus smiled as he sipped coffee from a mug he had made in the fabrication workshop. The coffee was perfect too. He had rebuilt the food synthesizers to create flavors that the original Zenthari designers had never imagined. Coffee that actually tasted like the earth coffee his grandmother used to make. Computer, show me the hull stress analysis. A three-dimensional image of the station appeared in the air above the control panel. The station looked like a giant wheel spinning slowly in space. Green sections showed areas that were perfectly healthy. Yellow sections showed minor damage. Red sections showed critical problems. When Marcus had first seen this display 4 weeks ago, most of the station had been red. Now, it was almost all green. The few yellow sections were places where Marcus had made improvements that the computer did not understand yet. Hull integrity is now 115% of original strength, the computer reported. Micro-fracture repairs have eliminated all atmospheric leakage. Structural reinforcement has increased load tolerance beyond design specifications. Marcus had not just patched the cracks in the station's hull. He had made the entire structure stronger. Instead of fixing each crack separately, he had woven a network of support beams through the station's skeleton, like a human bone that grows stronger after being broken and healed. But the real breakthrough had come when Marcus stopped thinking of the station as a building and started thinking of it as a living thing. Living things could heal themselves. Living things could adapt to new situations. Living things could grow and improve over time. So, Marcus had given Station Keithvar those abilities. He walked to the main engineering section, where his greatest creation hummed quietly in the background. The Adaptive Maintenance System, or AMS as Marcus called it, looked like a cross between a computer and a garden. Dozens of mechanical arms moved constantly, checking systems, making adjustments, and performing repairs. But these were not simple robots following programmed instructions. Marcus had given them artificial intelligence based on human problem-solving methods. They could recognize patterns, learn from experience, and invent new solutions to unexpected problems. AMS, report on yesterday's activities, Marcus said. A gentle female voice responded. Marcus had programmed it to sound warm and friendly, unlike the cold Zenthari computer voices. Good morning, Marcus. Yesterday I performed 43 routine maintenance tasks, upgraded 7 systems for improved efficiency, and identified 3 potential problems before they could cause failures. Show me the upgrades. Images appeared on nearby screens. The AMS had modified the water recycling system to extract more pure water from waste. It had adjusted the atmospheric processors to create a perfect mixture of gases for human breathing. It had even improved the artificial gravity generators to provide more stable and comfortable conditions. All without being asked. All without being programmed for those specific tasks. The AMS was learning and growing, just like a human engineer would. Marcus felt a deep satisfaction as he watched his creation work. This was what human engineering was really about. Not just making things work, but making things that could keep making themselves work better. A soft chime echoed through the station. Marcus, the computer said, I am detecting an approaching spacecraft. Distance, 2 million kilometers and closing. Marcus frowned. No one was supposed to know that Station Keithvar was operational. The Zenthari had declared it a total loss and marked it as a navigation hazard. Ships were supposed to stay away from dead stations. Can you identify the ship? Negative. The vessel is not broadcasting identification signals. However, its flight pattern suggests it is scanning our station with long-range sensors. Marcus activated the external cameras and looked out into space. A small, dark ship was moving slowly toward them. It was running silent, like a predator stalking prey. This was not a rescue mission. This was something else. Pirates. The outer rim was full of them. They searched for abandoned ships and stations to strip for valuable materials. They would expect to find a dead hulk floating in space. Instead, they were going to find a very much alive station with an angry human defending it. Marcus had been preparing for this possibility. Station Keithvar had originally been equipped with defensive weapons, but the Zenthari had removed them as part of their peaceful cooperation initiative. Very noble. Very stupid. But Marcus had found something better than weapons. He had found creativity. AMS. Activate Defense Protocol 7. Defense Protocol 7 activated, Marcus. Shall I also prepare Protocols 8 and 9? Not yet. Let's see how they react to a gentle warning first. The pirate ship was close enough now to see the station clearly. Marcus watched through the cameras as it approached one of the docking bays. The ship was ugly and scarred, patched together from dozens of different alien technologies. Just the kind of vessel that desperate criminals would use. As the ship moved closer, Marcus activated his first surprise. The station's external lights suddenly blazed to life, flooding the surrounding space with brilliant white light. Every window, every antenna, every surface panel glowed like a miniature sun. The pirate ship immediately stopped moving and began backing away. They had expected to find a dark, dead station. Instead, they had found something very much alive and very much aware of their presence. Marcus activated the communications system and spoke in his best authoritative voice. Unknown vessel. This is Station Keithvar. You are approaching a restricted area. Change course immediately, or face defensive action. For a moment, there was no response. Then a rough, snarling voice came back over the radio. Station Keithvar is listed as abandoned and destroyed. You are trespassing on salvage rights. Withdraw immediately, or we will take action. Marcus smiled. These pirates had no idea what they were dealing with. This station is very much operational and under human authority. You have 10 seconds to change course before I demonstrate our defensive capabilities. The pirate ship's weapons powered up. Red lights glowing along its hull. Human authority? One human cannot defend an entire station. Prepare to be boarded. AMS, Marcus said quietly. Show them what one human can do. The station's response was immediate and overwhelming. Every external antenna suddenly moved to point directly at the pirate ship. Every sensor array locked onto the target. Every communication dish began broadcasting focused electromagnetic signals. The pirate ship's systems immediately began failing. Their weapons powered down. Their engines sputtered. Their communications filled with static. Even their lights began flickering as the station's focused signals overloaded their electrical systems. What? How are you doing this? The pirate captain's voice crackled over the radio. Human engineering, Marcus replied calmly. We build things that work. Now leave. Before I show you what else human engineering can do. The pirate ship limped away into the darkness, its systems still sparking and failing. Marcus watched until it was gone, then turned off the defensive systems. AMS, did you record that encounter for analysis? Yes, Marcus. I have identified 17 different ways we could improve our defensive capabilities based on their reaction patterns. Marcus nodded. The station was learning and growing stronger every day. Soon, it would be more than just operational. It would be unstoppable. And Marcus was just getting started. 2 months after the evacuation, the first official ship arrived at Station Keithvar. It was not a rescue mission or a pirate raid. It was a Zenthari investigation fleet, led by Admiral Vashta himself, the same alien who had condemned the station and left Marcus to die. Marcus watched from the command center as 5 military ships approached in perfect formation. Their gray hulls gleamed in the starlight, and their weapons were clearly visible, but not powered up. This was a formal investigation, not an attack. Station Keithvar. This is Admiral Vashta of the Zenthari Fleet Command. You are occupying a condemned facility in violation of safety regulations. Identify yourself immediately. Marcus activated the communication system and leaned back in his chair. He had been waiting for this moment. "Hello, Admiral. This is Chief Engineer Marcus Chen, the human contractor you left behind. Welcome back to my station." A long silence followed. Then Admiral Vashta's voice came back, colder than before. "Impossible. No life signs were detected when we departed. Station Keithvar suffered total system failure. Survival was calculated as 0 probability." "Your calculations were wrong," Marcus replied cheerfully. "Station Keithvar is now operating at 142% of original efficiency. All systems are functioning perfectly. All mating ledig, all registrist. Life support is stable. Would you like a tour?" Through the external cameras, Marcus could see the Zenthari ships had stopped their approach. They were scanning the station with every sensor they had. The readings they were getting clearly made no sense to them. "Marcus Chen," Admiral Vashta said slowly, "our sensors indicate impossible energy readings from your location. Power output exceeds original station capacity by significant margins. Hull integrity shows improvement over original construction specifications. These readings cannot be accurate." "Come aboard and see for yourself," Marcus offered. "Docking Bay 3 is open and ready to receive you." Marcus walked through the station toward the docking bay, and everywhere he looked, he saw perfection. The corridors were clean and brightly lit. The air was fresh and warm. Plants that he had grown in the hydroponics bay added splashes of green color to the sterile alien architecture. This was not just a space station anymore. It was a home. The docking bay doors opened smoothly as Admiral Vashta's personal shuttle approached. Marcus had rebuilt these systems too, making them faster and more reliable than before. The shuttle landed with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. Admiral Vashta emerged from the shuttle wearing a full environmental suit, as if he expected to find vacuum or poisonous atmosphere. He was tall and thin, like most Zenthari, with gray skin and large black eyes. His movements were careful and precise, showing the rigid military training of his species. "Marcus Chen," the Admiral said through his suit's speakers. "Nice to see you too, Admiral," Marcus replied. He was wearing simple work clothes and breathing the station's air without any protection. "How do you like what I've done with the place?" Admiral Vashta looked around the docking bay with obvious confusion. The last time he had seen this area, it was dark and filled with debris. Now, it was spotless and humming with activity. Automated loading systems moved cargo containers with smooth efficiency. Status displays showed perfect operational conditions. "This is not possible," the Admiral muttered. Total system failure was confirmed. Repair costs exceeded replacement value. The station was condemned. "You condemned it," Marcus corrected. "I fixed it." Marcus led the Admiral through the station, and with each step, the aliens' confusion grew deeper. Every system was not just working, but working better than it ever had. The corridors were wider because Marcus had removed unnecessary structural supports and replaced them with more efficient designs. The lighting was brighter because he had upgraded the power distribution network. Even the gravity felt more natural because his new generators created a smoother field. "Show me the fusion reactor," Admiral Vashta demanded. Marcus led him to what used to be the reactor chamber. Instead of one massive fusion core, he had built 12 smaller reactors, arranged in a circle. Each one was a masterpiece of human engineering. Simpler, more reliable, and more efficient than the original Zenthari design. "This is not standard procedure," Admiral Vashta said, examining the reactors with his scanner. "These designs do not appear in any approved engineering database." "That's because I invented them," Marcus said proudly. "Human engineering. We don't just follow the manual. We write new ones." The Admiral's scanner beeped with readings that made him stare at the display in disbelief. "Power output is 160% of theoretical maximum for this reactor mass. Efficiency ratings exceed physical laws. No. They exceed your understanding of physical laws, Marcus corrected. I'm not breaking physics. I'm just using it better than you do. They continued the tour, and Admiral Vashta saw miracle after miracle. The life support systems that created perfect air from waste products. The gravity generators that provided comfortable conditions, using half the power of the original design. The hull reinforcement that made the station stronger than when it was first built. But the biggest shock came when they reached the command center. Computer, Marcus said casually, give our guest a status report. Instead of the cold, mechanical voice that Admiral Vashta expected, a warm female voice responded. Good afternoon, Admiral Vashta. Welcome to Station Keithvar. All systems are operating at optimal efficiency. Current station performance is 148% of original design specifications. Admiral Vashta stared at the displays, showing perfect green readings across every system. How is this possible? The station required 200 specialists to operate properly. AMS, Marcus called out. Introduce yourself to our guest. The adaptive maintenance system's voice came from speakers throughout the command center. Hello, Admiral Vashta. I am the adaptive maintenance system. I handle all routine operations and maintenance for Station Keithvar. I have learned to anticipate problems and solve them before they can cause failures. Artificial intelligence, Admiral Vashta whispered. But the processing power required for such a system is distributed throughout the entire station, Marcus finished. Every computer, every control panel, every sensor is part of AMS. She doesn't just run the station. She is the station. Admiral Vashta sat down heavily in a nearby chair. His rigid military posture finally cracked under the weight of what he was seeing. This changes everything. Our entire approach to engineering, to construction, to maintenance, it's all wrong. Not wrong, Marcus said gently. Just limited. You build things to work exactly as designed. We build things to work better than designed. But the cost, the resources, the time required. I did all of this with spare parts and scrap materials, Marcus pointed out. Your condemned station became my hardware store. Your disaster became my opportunity. Admiral Vashta was quiet for a long moment, staring at the impossible readings on the displays. Finally, he spoke in a voice that was very different from his earlier military tone. Marcus Chen, I owe you an apology. When we evacuated, I believed we were following proper procedure. Marcus laughed. I'm not a genius, Admiral. I'm just human. This is what we do. We take broken things and make them better. The Zenthari Fleet Command will want to study your modifications. This technology could revolutionize our entire fleet. The technology isn't for sale, Marcus said firmly. But the knowledge is free. Send me your engineers. Let them learn. Let them ask questions. Let them see what's possible when you stop following rules and start solving problems. Admiral Vashta nodded slowly. I will send word throughout the fleet. This station will become a center of learning. Marcus smiled. Good. But first, help me with something. I need to send a message to every species in the galaxy. Tell them that Station Keithvar is open for business. Tell them that the human way of engineering is available to anyone who wants to learn. What do you want in return? Marcus looked out at the stars through the command center's main window. I want to see what happens when the entire galaxy starts thinking like humans. I want to see what we can build together. F it. Admiral Vashta stood up and removed his environmental helmet, breathing the station's perfect air. I believe you are about to change the galaxy, Marcus Chen. No, Marcus replied. We're all going to change it together. 6 months after Admiral Vashta's first visit, Station Keithvar had become the most important place in known space. Ships from dozens of different species arrived daily, all wanting to see the miracle that one human had created. The station that had once been condemned as worthless now hosted the galaxy's greatest minds. Marcus stood in the new observation deck that he had built on top of the station's main hub. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see a constant stream of ships coming and going. Zenthari military vessels, Korvan research ships, Thexian trade haulers. Even the mysterious Voidwalkers had sent a delegation to study human engineering methods. AMs, Marcus said, watching a group of young alien engineers work on a practice project in the deck below. How many students are we hosting this week? Currently, we have 437 engineering students from 23 different species, AMS replied in her warm, friendly voice. They are working on 42 different projects, ranging from basic system optimization to advanced adaptive AI development. Marcus smiled. The station had grown far beyond its original purpose. What started as a simple trade hub had become the galaxy's first interspecies engineering academy. Students came here to learn not just human techniques, but how to combine the best ideas from every known civilization. Marcus, AMS continued, I have a report on the latest modifications to the station's core systems. Would you like to review it? AMS. Always, Marcus said, settling into his favorite chair. Holographic displays appeared in the air around him, showing the current state of Station Keithvar. The original wheel-shaped structure was still there, but it had grown tremendously. New sections extended out like flower petals, each one designed for different research and educational purposes. Station capacity has increased to accommodate 5,000 residents, AMS reported. Power generation is now at 400% of original design specifications. We are completely self-sufficient, and actually producing surplus energy that we sell to passing ships, Marcus noted as he reviewed the numbers. The station wasn't just maintaining itself anymore. It was growing and improving every day. Students and researchers from across the galaxy brought new ideas, new technologies, and new ways of thinking. AMS absorbed all of this knowledge and used it to make the station even better. Show me the latest breakthrough projects, Marcus requested. Images of different workshops appeared on the displays. In one lab, Zenthari students were learning to build fusion reactors that could adapt their output based on real-time demand. In another, Korvan engineers were developing hull materials that could repair themselves when damaged. A group of Thexian researchers had created new computer systems that thought more like living brains than mechanical calculators. But the most impressive project was happening in the central engineering bay. A mixed team of students from 6 different species was building something that had never existed before. A starship designed using pure human engineering principles. The prototype vessel is nearing completion, AMS reported. The students have named it Harmony because it combines technologies from all participating species into a single, unified design. Marcus activated the internal cameras and watched the students work. Humans, Zenthari, Korvans, Thexians, and others all worked side by side. They argued sometimes, because each species had different approaches to problem solving. But those arguments led to better solutions than any single species could have created alone. The ship they were building looked like nothing that had ever flown before. It had the elegant lines of Zenthari design, the rugged durability of human engineering, the advanced materials of Korvan science, and the adaptive intelligence of Thexian computers. But more than that, it had something new. Something that only came from true cooperation between different ways of thinking. Marcus. A new voice called from behind him. He turned to see Professor Cilia Keithvar, a Zenthari engineer who had become one of the station's most important teachers. The Council of Engineering is ready to make their announcement. Marcus had been expecting this. Representatives from every major civilization in the galaxy had been meeting for weeks, discussing the impact of human engineering on galactic society. The changes had been dramatic and sometimes disruptive. Old ways of building and maintaining technology were becoming obsolete, Traditional engineering schools were struggling to adapt to new methods that emphasized creativity over conformity. "Let me guess," Marcus said with a grin. "They want to regulate human engineering techniques to prevent dangerous innovation." Professor Keithvar's large black eyes showed amusement. "Actually, quite the opposite. They want to make human engineering principles the new galactic standard." Marcus raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Really?" "The evidence is overwhelming," she explained. "Every civilization that has adopted human techniques has seen dramatic improvements in efficiency, reliability, and cost-effectiveness. The Zenthari fleet has retrofitted half of our ships with human-designed systems. The Corvin trade network is using human logistics algorithms. Even the Voidwalkers have admitted that human creativity surpasses their analytical methods." They walked together toward the main conference hall, where representatives from across the galaxy had gathered. The hall itself was a perfect example of the new engineering philosophy. It had been built by students using techniques from every species, resulting in a space that was both beautiful and incredibly functional. As Marcus entered the hall, the conversations gradually stopped. Hundreds of aliens turned to look at him. These were some of the most important beings in known space. Military leaders, trade executives, research directors, and government officials. And they were all here because of what one human had accomplished in this station. Admiral Vashta stood at the center of the hall and spoke in a voice that carried to every corner of the room. "Fellow beings, we gather here today to acknowledge a truth that our civilizations have been slow to accept. The human approach to engineering represents not just an alternative method, but an evolutionary advancement in how we interact with technology." Murmurs of agreement echoed through the hall. Marcus was amazed at how much attitudes had changed. 6 months ago, these same leaders had dismissed human techniques as crude and unreliable. Now they were calling them evolutionary. "Marcus Chen," Admiral Vashta continued, "you have shown us that the greatest limitation in engineering is not physical laws, but limited thinking. You have proven that improvisation is not the enemy of reliability, but its greatest ally. You have demonstrated that the best solutions come not from following rules, but from understanding principles." The Admiral gestured toward a holographic display that appeared above the crowd. "The Council of Engineering hereby declares Station Keithvar to be the official Intergalactic Engineering Academy. We formally adopt human engineering principles as the new standard for all major construction projects. And we offer you, Marcus Chen, the position of Director of Galactic Engineering Development." The hall erupted in applause from dozens of different species. Marcus felt overwhelmed by the response. When he had been left to die on a broken station, he never imagined that his survival would lead to this. "Thank you," Marcus said when the applause died down. "But I have one condition. The position comes with a new title, Director of Cooperative Engineering Development. Because the best innovations come when we work together, not when one species dominates the others." More applause filled the hall. Marcus looked around at the faces of beings from across the galaxy, all united by a shared commitment to building better things through better thinking. Later, after the ceremonies were finished, Marcus returned to his observation deck. The station was quieter now, with most of the visitors having departed to spread the news throughout their home systems. But the work would continue. Students would keep learning, teachers would keep teaching, the galaxy would keep improving. "AMS," Marcus said, looking out at the stars. "What do you think happens next?" "AMS. Based on current trends," AMS replied, "I predict that within 50 years, every major civilization will have adopted human engineering principles. Within 100 years, the distinction between human and alien technology will disappear completely. We will simply call it galactic technology." Marcus nodded. "And what about after that?" "After that," AMS said with something that sounded almost like excitement in her voice, "we start exploring what's possible when an entire galaxy thinks like humans. We start building things that no single species could even imagine. Marcus smiled and settled back in his chair. The abandoned engineer had become the architect of a new age. The broken station had become the birthplace of galactic cooperation. And the human refusal to accept defeat had become the foundation for unlimited possibility. Outside the window, the stars seemed brighter than ever. They were no longer distant points of light, but destinations waiting to be reached by ships built with human ingenuity and alien wisdom working together. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what Marcus had hoped for.